Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Shredding Skeptic. Today we're going to be taking a quick look at the game GRAV. Now this game I was able to pick up by watching one of Alloy7's videos on the game, and I was able to pick up a Steam key from there. So this game I was able to pick up for free, and again I thank Alloy7 for his generosity in getting me into this gaming experience. So we're going to dive right in and see what it is to try this game out for the first time. Now honestly, I was really excited to jump right into this game because it really did look like a very familiar space exploration experience, which I've had a lot of fun with recently with games like Empyrean Galactic Survival and the early test plays of Star Citizen. Now this game, I think, touches on a lot of similar elements, such as resource gathering, base building, and potentially space exploration once you've developed your character to a high enough level. And as you can see, the environment is also very unique, almost cartoony, in the sense that the color scheme these guys have chosen to go with is very, very vibrant and in some cases a little oversaturated. But again, you're going to find a very interesting world to explore with plenty of interesting flora and fauna. Where my experience for this game was somewhat compromised might have been due to a topic that we discussed earlier on Gamer Life, known as game experience bias. Now, a quick breakdown of what this is, if you guys haven't had a chance to check out that episode, is where you play a new game and find that experiences from a previous game are now compromising your experiences of this game. So I had found if this was a game I had played for the first time 5 years ago, this would have completely blown me away. The idea that I could spend all this time building bases and going off into space and exploring and fighting all these interesting creatures, this would have been an amazing experience. However, with the amount of time that I've sunk into Empyrean Galactic Survival, I've found that it's similar to, say, building a giant sandcastle in one sandbox, and then your buddy's like, yo, why don't you just come build a sandcastle in this sandbox? And you're like, well, yeah, but I just spent all this time building... Oh, okay, fine, I'll go check out your sandbox. And you kind of go over there and find that you have to start from scratch in a very unfamiliar interface that seems a little bit more clunky compared to what you're used to in other games. Now, say what you will about the tedium of resource gathering in games like Empyrean Galactic Survival, but again, I almost find it more fun because you get to carve out a giant hole in the rocks rather than just sort of blasting a laser at a tree for 30 seconds until it falls over. You can get resource pets that will speed up this gathering process, but again, I find just the overall process of gathering resources in this game to be somewhat tedious and unenjoyable. I also had a chance to briefly try out Elite Dangerous, but the experience was so similar to what Star Citizen is aspiring to, I thought I might as well prevent my experience of Star Citizen from being biased by Elite Dangerous, and I've chosen to put that one aside for now. But my early experience with GRAV seems to be gathering enough ore and gems to be able to construct a pistol, so that at least you can defend yourself at range if you happen to be attacked by any of these creatures. GRAV seems to be a lot more focused on the base building and space exploration than it does towards the survival elements. So I was finding myself somewhat taken out of the survival mode by seeing a bunch of people around on the world and waving and saying hello, and it doesn't really feel all that isolating when, you can just walk by and say hi to somebody. That said, the players in this world were very friendly. Nobody was really going after anyone else because they were so focused on gathering the abundance of resources and putting a base together. Now, I imagine the end goal of all of these upgrading processes is eventually to create yourself some sort of a space vessel and get yourself out into orbit and start exploring other planets. An effective planetary exploration seems to be the holy grail that a lot of these open world games are going for. The ability to create a large, persistent, and convincing universe that a player can simply go out and explore on their own. So I suppose my question to the audience here would be, is this a game that you guys would like to continue to see more footage from, or would you guys prefer to see me just move on to something else? Because I imagine in the future we're going to be doing a lot of different planetary exploration games as this genre starts to mature. So I guess I'm somewhat reticent to burn myself out on a game that doesn't quite hit it right on the head and really draw me in to the immersion. The lack of a first-person perspective doesn't really help that either, because I find having to do the third person all the time does get a little bit old, and I did have to modify just with a quick console command, FOV 152, to give myself 152 degrees of field of vision, because if you don't do that, you're really just zoomed right in, because the game is just trying to stretch the normal field of vision to the triple monitor screen. So, thanks again for tuning into this particular episode of the Shredding Skeptic, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the comments with your thoughts on GRAV. Thanks again.